Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Bald Explorer Live. Sorry, I am a couple of minutes late. Sorry about that. I do apologise. I just had to have a quick conversation with my son, who has come back from work, and just sort out some, usual things. I just had a text there. Just make sure that's nothing important, which of course it isn't. Oh, it's never important. But hello to everybody there. Let's have a look who have we got out there in the world of. We have Ed Loud. Hello to you, Ed Loud. Hello to Turbo Stream, and from the autumnal Shire, wind and rain in the Midlands. Ed Loud, lovely and sunny here in London. Trev's Travels by narrowboat. Hello to you. Trev says wet and cold and windy near Tamworth. Oh dear, sorry about the wet and windy in Tamworth. Lee Lawson, hello to you, Lee. In sort of overcast, sunny-ish. I can't see because the curtains are shut in here. Worthing. It looks like this is somewhat overexposed in here. I'm just going to fiddle with the... I'm going to just turn this on, ladies and gentlemen. You catch me red-handed in a uncomprised... there we are. That looks a bit better. Linda Kane, good afternoon. No, lovely Julia. I think she may have fallen asleep with young Joseph, no doubt. What ho, Andrew Norris. Lovely to see you. Thank you, Andrew. Got your video. Thank you, Linda Kane, for the comments in the Trello thing. I've scan-read them, but I haven't fully read them. And I'm hoping possibly next week to go and start the next In Search of Sussex video. I was out on a farm this morning, which was fantastic, with a chap called Lee Dallon in near Petworth, looking at his farm and what the farmers do for wildlife. Very interesting. Coming tomorrow for you already, and we'll be online tomorrow in the morning. Anyway, meanwhile, we are reading, of course, In Search of England by HV Morton. And we will continue. So let's do that. We were on. It's gone to Bewdley. Actually, I was rather hoping that the lovely Julia was here to listen, because she got married at Bewdley, if I remember rightly, and she, I think, she had a ride in an old vintage car with this old chap while she was in her wedding outfit. She's got this fantastic story, and it turns out that he was Lord whatever himself of Bewdley, who's since no longer with us. But it's a shame she's not there. I don't know quite. Maybe she's busy or whatever. Anyway, maybe I'll try and get her to talk about it on the Vogue show tonight. Merciless Sun here says, Morton Lewis, death stalking on every corner. The Reaper is knocking on my door, but I'm holding on with a can of beer. Well done. I'm very pleased. Did he put you straight? Yes, he did. He threw me into his wild flower patch, funnily enough. Lord Montague, that's the very fella. There we are. Thank you, Ben Reeve. Yes, that was Lord Montague, who she saw. It's a shame that I don't know whether... I'm almost... I was tempted to ring her. So anyway, I don't know how much. I can't remember. I think I read this bit before. Anyway, let's read it. I'll tell her to go and check it out at 4 minutes in. Here in Bewdley, they pronounce it Bewdley. Nothing happens, or it seems could happen, except the coming and going of the tide of the river, the budding and the falling of the leaves, the rising and the setting of the sun and the moon. This is a strange, lonely place in the middle of the last of England's great forests. I'm inclined to think that it is one of the strangest places I know. The people are slow Saxons, well-mannered, differential people, with their wits about them and their tongues padlocked. Their ancestors most wisely took to cover when William Rufus came crashing through the bracken in search of a stag, which, as you remember, led to a grave. They are still good at taking cover behind the barriers of their recitants. The place, like the people, encourages a delicious slowness. You feel that London, with all its fret, is not quite so important in the ultimate scheme of things as Mr. Smith's little litter of pigs. And it seems to you, as you lean against the fence in the portentous silence, that those things which men break their hearts upon are not worth as much in the long run as the sight of the moon tangled in the boughs of the young birchwood. Heresy, of course. It would be fatal to stay too long in Bewdley. You would wish for nothing better than to lean over Mr. Smith's pigsty or to stand by the mill stream and watch the stars grow bright in the evening. I have been wondering in the spell of this village, whether it is possible for the odour of sanctuary to cling to a place. This timely hamlet, with its magnificent abbey ruin, was, from 1204 till 1539, one of the chief places in England to which the murderer, the thief, the plotter, and the general fugitive of justice literally flew for his life. Once within the wall, no one could touch him. The peace of the church was over him like a shield, and the sheriff might bang on the great gates as loud as Judgment Day, and the knights might ride round the walls for as long as they liked with their swords drawn. But the fox had gone to holy earth. He was safe as though he had never sinned. Through the Middle Ages, Bewdley must have entertained one of the world's record assemblies of rogues and vagabonds, men who dare not take one step outside the walls. The white monks farmed the land and fished the river, singing high mass every day in the lovely abbey church, and I suppose no one was started or excited at so usual a sight as that of a man on a winded horse riding full tilt at the gate to join this queer brotherhood of hunted. I imagine that the abbot of Bewdley owned a visitor's book, rather like that of Scotland Yard's file of wanted faces. All that remains of this old storm is the tall ruin in the light of the same moon on the banks of the same river. The evil seems to have gone from Bewdley, but the feeling of sanctuary remains. The feeling, it may seem a strange thing to say, that the peace of the church is still over the fields, making something more out of the solitude. I thought in this way one evening when the tide was going out and the sun was setting. It was low in the west behind the trees, lost in a blaze of sudden unexpected splendour. There were two layers of cloud, one low and moving, the other high and stationary. The low clouds were indigo blue and stormy, the high a soft apricot pink colour. The west was burning with gold light, and the edges of the dark clouds were etched with the thin lines of fire. The pageant moved, changed. The river against the sun was a sheet of dull silver on which a jet black duck moved noiselessly. A swan, silhouetted as if cut in a black paper, swam with his neck beneath the water. A wind came fretting the river, blowing a handful of pale blossoms into the grass. The hush of evening deepened. I could hear a dog barking far away, and the words of two men talking over a lichened wall were as clear as bells. "Yes," said one, "his garden could do with a week of sun, that it could." Click, his spade went against a pebble. The water shivered in the fretful wind, and the gold in the sky deepened and dulled. Above it extended a pearly greyness, not so much the dearth of light as the birth of a new, unearthly light. There is one moment at sunset in the country when the whole visible world seems to gather itself in prayer, and seems to you strange that men should move on unconsciousness. What? And would seem strange that men would move on unconscious of that. Would it seem strange that men should move on unconscious of this? Oh, men that. Oh, I see what he's saying now. Sorry. I'll just read that again because I've suddenly worked out what it's all about. There is one moment at sunset in the country when the whole visible world seems to gather itself in prayer, and it seems strange to you that men should move on unconscious of this with spades over their shoulders instead of falling on their knees in the grass. For in that hush, in that benediction of seconds before the first star shines, the universe seems waiting for a revelation, as if the clouds might part and man know something of his destiny. Lights shine in windows. There is a sound of steps on the road. Someone laughs loudly. Night falls, and the dream is gone. He got all a little bit too poetic for my taste there. I didn't understand what the hell he was on about. But there you go. On a sunny afternoon, there is no place known to me in which you would be more likely to see a ghost in daylight than that of the ruins of Bewdley Abbey. But it would not be a horrific spectre. It would be a pleasant lay brother walking to the ruins of the laundry with a basket over his arm, or sauntering slowly in the direction of the kitchens carrying a platter of shelled peas, stopping to steal one and to wiggle a stone from the toe of his sandals. It's a quiet place, full of kind ghosts. Tall trees lean from soft grass, and little blue flowers grow in clumps from the ruined cloisters. There is a colony of primroses over the walls of the chapter house. When the sunlight slants from the grey stone walls, the air becomes lazy with the drone of bees. Perhaps the most ghostly thing of all is the field in which the Abbey church once stood. Henry VIII allowed the monks' building to remain, but he ordered the church to be pulled down so that not one stone stands upon another. Yet the shape of the great abbey remains in a field. In this green meadow you instinctively raise your hat, for it seems holy ground. There is a large cross in the grass, the arms formed by the site of the transepts. A little path like a sheep track, only dead straight, runs up the centre of that which was the nave, leading to a wooden cross where the high altar of the King's Bewdley once rose blue in incense. What a spectre of a church! The sky its vault, the thrush in the yew tree its choir, the dews of the night its benediction. I'm told that the villagers of Bewdley believe the place to be haunted, and that no one sits out among the ruins when they have a dance in the domus or dormitory of the monks, which is now used as a kind of parish hall. I heard it said that the vicar, who has looked after the soul of Bewdley for the last 30 years, is on excellent terms with the spirits of certain Cistercians. Sounds like a flower, doesn't it? But they're the monks, Cistercians. But that, of course, may be gossip. The one person who ought to know is Miss Amy Cheshire, a young woman who lives alone in the ruins of the Abbey. She occupies a vast, dark, oak-beamed stone room with a bedroom above in the ruins of the old dormitory. She has an electric light in the large room, or I think that even she would be hard to put to it to spend a night there with candles shaking over the stone walls and making the blackness deeper. When night falls, the Abbey is locked up. Miss Cheshire is as sundered from the world as if she were in the middle of the desert. She looks through her deep stone windows upon the moonlit cloisters, with dark shapes of the yews lying over the grass. The stone walls shine in the moonlight. The vaulted arches rise up fractured. The grass and the wallflowers stand like black hair growing on the top of tumbled walls. She is alone with 700 years, 335 of them from 1204 to 1539, years of active life within the ruins, years not of quiet prayer, but years of storm and sin. As I have said, the Abbey of Bewdley opened its arms to all sinners, except, of course, those guilty of heresy or sacrilege. And you are never nervous here alone? And you are never nervous here alone? I asked Miss Cheshire. No, she replied, not now. 2 years ago, when I decided to live here, people begged me to have someone to keep me company on the first night, but I refused. I knew that if I funked the first night, I would funk the first week, and then, of course, it would be all up with me. We sat in the big monastic room, the little lead-paned windows bright with sun and flowers, a tame robin flirting his tail and his head on one side perched on top of a screen. Few women would dare to live alone here. You require to be a bit run down. You only require to be a bit run down to imagine things. I don't know what he means by that. You only require to be a bit run down to imagine things. Things do happen, of course, said Miss Cheshire in a matter-of-fact voice, but I won't have anything to do with them. I just turn over and go to sleep. What sort of things? Well, I often hear steps and the sound of a key in the night. The monks used to sleep here in the cells, and someone used to come and waken them in the small hours and to sing matins. Several people, when in these rooms, have heard the choir singing. It comes not very often, but sometimes by day and sometimes by night, as if one had tuned in to something, if you know what I mean. But I say, I won't become interested in it, because I do not think it's right, and I know so many people who have ruined their health in spiritualistic pursuits. Forgive me, you don't imagine things? No, I'm not the kind of person to imagine things. If I did, living here all alone as I do, I would see things or imagine that I did, and that would be the end of such peace of mind as I possess. The singing of the monks has been heard by my two friends of mine who come to scoff. It came on suddenly while we were sitting here one night after dinner, and I said nothing in order to see which one of them would hear it first, or if they would hear it at all. Oh, yes, they heard it all right. The robin flew across the room, jumping me, I admit, for it was eerie to sit listening to this woman in the room talking in such cold blood about another world. I put my piano over there by the window, she said, because of a very vivid dream. That window was the window of the cell of Brother Ambrosius, not of the custard fame, I don't think, who was a musician. Saying goodbye, I walked down a flight of old stone steps into the Monk's Walk, with the feeling that if I slept alone in Bewdley Abbey, I would see and hear much more than Miss Cheshire claims to have done, but only for one night, because I would hate to be awakened for matins, however you pronounce that weird word. Just doolally, yes, I think she is. Miss Cheshire has cajones, as we say in Spain, show hide. Don't know sure what the show hide is, but where is the lovely Julia? It's unusual for her not to be here. Might have to ring her up. I daren't. She might be busy. Anyway. Yes, so that's the end of that little bit. How are we doing? Yes. Hey diddly Vobaroonies. He was my brother at Bob Ross Painting. Balls. What? Balls? Says Martin. Fair enough. The port of the little kingdom of Bewdley is something 3 miles south along Bewdley River. It's called Buckler's Hard. Buckler is the name of a man who lived there centuries ago, and Hard refers to the character of the riverbank in this locality. Now, when you enter Buckler's Hard, you feel at once the queer atmosphere which clings to a place in which men have extended great energy. The village seems to be resting after such effort. The street, as wide as Regent Street, is only 100 yards long. It ends as if cut off suddenly in green hummocks and mounds on which cattle graze. Below this single street, standing among fields, the ground falls gently to the banks of Bewdley River. The stream is wide at full tide, and at low exposes a great tract of shallow, reedy bank. Beyond the river, wood lies piled on wood to the skyline. When you walk beside the river, you notice once again the evidence of a dead village buried under grass. Here are more green hummocks and mounds. Great timbers go down to the water, rotting and covered with weed. In the field are gigantic dips and hollows full of lush grass and flowers. In those dips and on those rotting slipways once rested a stout oak-built ships which helped to found the British Empire. The unknown forgotten village in Hampshire was once loud with the sound of forge hammers. Here, thousands of great oak trees were formed into ships of the line, and in the water the Bewdley River was launched. And into the water of Bewdley River was launched in 1781 the Agamemnon, a 64-gun ship of 1,384 tons burden, in which Nelson lost his right eye at the siege of Calvi. The history of Buckler's Hard is, apart from the interest as a dead village, which played its part in the empire, well worth telling, for it shows how swiftly time and fate can alter a place. I don't know why I get these show hide symbols that come up, because I don't know what they mean, because I can't show hide, and I don't know whether you lot see that. I mean, I see it, and then if I click show, nothing happens. Nothing happens on any of them. Don't know why that is. Anyway, sorry for those of you who can't see the text. I get these great squares that say show hide, but it doesn't really do anything. I don't know quite why it does it. Anyway, yes, 150 years. Oh, yes, 150 years ago, John, Duke of Montagu, then Lord of the Manor, owned the sugar-producing island of St. Vincent in the West Indies. His manor was stocked with fine oak trees, and his little port of Buckler's Hard was a free harbour, a legacy inherited from the old abbots of Bewdley. What prevented his land from becoming a great centre of the Indian trade? ? John Montagu, a keen businessman, though it would be a fine thing could he steal a little of John Montagu, I'm not reading very well today, I do apologise. Perhaps it's asking if you want to show that message or hide it from the public. Oh, right, I see. Yes, I get show hide. I assumed what it meant was that people are trying to show me something that I had to click to see it. Can't see now on my TV, says Turbo Stream. Probably good for you. Turn it off, your telly. Right, sorry, I'm not reading very well today, and I apologise, I don't know why. John Montagu, a keen businessman, thought it would be a fine thing could he steal a little of the shipbuilding trade from Southampton and transplant it to Buckler's Hard. He already had oak there and ironworks at Sowley Pond, and all he required was shipbuilders. He got them. He offered key frontages on a 99 years lease at a yearly rent of 6 and 8pence. For every house erected, he gave 3 loads of timber. The noble Duke used to stride the hill and rejoice at the sound of the builder's men, for the dream of his life was to create a great seaport in this sheltered wilderness, and he rechristened the village Montague Town. Henry Adams, the veteran shipbuilder, settled here, and soon the country was loud with hammers knocking against the wooden walls of England. Between 1745 and 1808, about 44 men of war were built and launched at Buckler's Here were built the Agamemnon, the Swiftsure, and the Euryalus, whose guns thundered at the Battle of Trafalgar. When a ship was launched, this is how desolate little villages. When a ship was launched, this now desolate little village was the scene of great excitement. Sometimes as many as 10,000 came from far and near to see the launching. Many came in tumbrels and farm wagons. Scaffolds were erected, and the great crowd waited. The ships on the slipway. Crowds. I'm really reading it, really, and I'm annoying myself again now. Scaffolds were erected, and the great crowd waited, the ship on the slipway, watching for the tide to become full. It must have been an amazing sight. One bank of the little river buzzing with life and colour, the other peaceful and green, the woods stretching to the horizon. Then there would be the shouting, "Off she goes! Off she goes!" And a big 74-gun man of war would be moved slowly to the water with a band playing "God Save the King." The wooden children of Buckler's Hard found their way about the world, and they discovered in their travels plenty of fighting. They carried the Union Jack into every quarrel that was going. Their great keels cut foreign waters and met the French on every sea. John, Duke of Montague, who died at his house in Privy Gardens in 1749, 5 years after the hammers came to Buckler's Yard, went to heaven with the belief, perhaps, that in Montague Town he had founded another Portsmouth. Time stepped in. The wooden walls gave place to the iron, the sail to the funnel. Gradually fewer and fewer ships were launched in Bewdley River. Swift as had been the rise of the village, as swift was its fall. Its old name came back, and now the grass has come back, the wild fowl cries where once the caulking hammer sounded, and the heron perches on the great oak pathways from which ships of the line stepped majestically into our naval history. A ghostly place. When the last slipway cracks and falls into the water, I would like to think that some old native will see, faint as if spun in mist on Bewdley River, a gallant ship, her sails glimmering, her colours shot to shreds, come creeping home to Buckler's Hard to fade like a night fog into the English grass which gave her birth. Right, well, maybe that will happen. Linda Kane says, I've seen YouTube lives where... What? I've seen YouTube... Oh, lives. Yeah, sorry, I thought you meant YouTube lives, like little YouTubes alive. Sorry. I've seen YouTube lives where the YouTuber can bring a comment onto the screen so everyone sees it. Handy if the comments move quickly. I wonder how he does that. And when you say he moves it onto the screen... What? So what somehow copies it? Oh, well, that doesn't work. He must have some little program to do it. Happy July 4th to everyone. It's the 3rd, Jeff. It's the 3rd of July. At least it is in England. Trafalgar. Hip, hip, hooray. There's a Trafalgar hotel near me, says Morton Lewis. Marvellous. Hope tomorrow goes as well as it can for you and all your great countrymen. Yes. I don't understand. It's not the 4th of July. Happy 4th. It's not the 4th. Tomorrow's the 4th. My computer here tells me it's the 3rd. My phone tells me it's the 3rd. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm sure if I look at my diary, it's the 3rd. Onto the screen where you are. Yes, onto the screen where you are. I don't know how they do that. Linda, let's hope there's plenty of traditional English chaos and not too much worrying about the other thing. Yes, I don't know what the other thing is, but whatever it is, let's hope there is not too much of the other thing. Right, we will attend that characteristic event of an English spring, a hunt, a point to point. It is afternoon. It has stopped raining, and the sun has come out. So has the entire county. Those lonely mansions set upon the hill or lying snug in the woods, with 6 days out of 7 appear dead, prove to be inhabited by colonels, majors, Sir Alfred this and Lord that. It's a startling coming to life. The recently desolate roads are alive with limousines, luncheon baskets on top, the girls inside, the major driving. And in a side lane, opposite the gate leading to Farmer Sweetbread's field, stands the village bobby, hot and bothered, tied up with Fords and Rolls Royces, to say nothing of Lady Snatcher's hunter, Pinch o' Ginger, favourite from the hunt cap, who moves restlessly amid the mudguards with a mustard-coloured blanket on his back, and a groom making soothing noises at his head. A distracted yokel at the gate collects 10 shillings from the gentry towards the restoration of Farmer Sweetbed's meadow, as each car churns in over the muddy entrance and bumps through a sweet scent of bruised grass and daisies to the car park. The clouds are big over the green backs of the hills, enormous sailing gold clouds. And there is a sharp wind. From the hill the country falls away into a crystal-clear patchwork of acres cut by sharp green hedges, here and there little scarlet flags which mark the course fluttering in the wind. On the hill, overlooking the course, the motor cars are drawn up on the grass, and near them 30 bookmakers shout and bellow. Behind the bookmakers is an outraged-looking thatched cottage. To the left of the cottage shines a white marquee, the weighing-in tent, and opposite, behind the rails, is the padlock. Here is the county. The field is rich with types as Piccadilly. There are the old men with monocles and lined, saggy faces like bloodhounds. They wear fawn bowlers and smoke thin cheroots held between fingers and yellow gloves. They wear checked clothes that would strike the observer dead in a city. The green grass seems to tone them down. There are still older men bent double, who cup their ears with a hand when they are addressed, and reply with an asthmatic cough. Oh, Lord, yes, a damn good horse. Look at his legs, darling. Look at his legs. Then there are the young men, loose-limbed creatures, who are bred, not born. They are bred to ride horses, so that nature falls into line and fits them out with exactly the kind of legs you need to ride a horse. Just look at his legs. There is nothing but horse in their minds, and when they die, surely they will become centaurs. Quack-a-ding. Oh, that's, I think, the lovely Julia. I can't listen to that at the moment. There is nothing but horse in there. Yes, surely it would become centaurs. Everybody's collarbone has been broken. What? Then the girls. Nowhere in the world will you see such trim, neat girls. They sit on shooting sticks. They wear tweed clothes as perfectly as their brothers wear riding breeches. When quite young, their noses have freckles. Most of them have the beauty that comes with health and simplicity, and they stride across a field magnificently, discussing fetlocks and withers with the man of their choice. They never hesitate at a fence. They are neat-limbed, lovely things. A flash of colour in the paddock. 3 young men in pink coats ride off over the fields to the starting point. "Good luck, sir," says the groom. "Thank you, Tom." "He'll win it," says Tom to the chauffeur. More riders trot out. The crowd streams away after them. "Here they come!" And it's the first horse off to the thing, and there he goes. It's the next one. Red rum, followed by so-and-so, and dim. A line of horsemen rides up and dips over the first brushwood jump. They take the second jump and disappear. Nothing happens for 5 minutes. 10, 20, and then, here they are! Strike Me Pink, leading. No, it's Harkway. Come on, sir, come on. Harkway, ride him. Come on, it's Harkway up to the halfway measure. Halfway measure's going over the top. Ride him, come on. Oh, bad luck, he's down. Strike Me Pink coming up to the last jump. Over the big water jump appears the head of a horse, and it's a cracked with brushwood, a splash of water, top hat floating, the rider catching the reins, then another horse, flying horse that clears the jump and thunders to the winning post. Who is it? Strike Me Pink, and there it is. Strike Me Pink coming in, followed by I don't know, and followed him by somebody else. And now, luncheon. The colonel superintends the spreading of an oil sheet on the grass. "Come on, you girls. Dash good race, what? Any fella here care for gin and bitters? Good. John, where's the bottle? Oh, who's that good-looking woman old Barrodale's talking around? Snorter, what? By Jove, what a ripe snorter." The gals sit down. The feast begins. A tin sandwich box circulates. Anchovy underneath, chicken on top. Oh, delicious. A horse passes. Everyone stops eating at the approach of a god. It goes. The colonel comes back to life. "Good-looking, what? What's the name? Carting about, is it? I've got a treat for you, children. What? Give us another whiskey." He goes to the car and comes back with a bottle of sloe gin and plum cake. "Dashed good-looking woman, what?" he mutters. "I say, any fella got a corkscrew?" And over the hill the big gold clouds wheel and change pattern slowly, dropping away to a green skyline. The fields, sharply cut in the sunlight, they lie cosily between the hedges. Old Sir Timothy Heavey walks past, still on his crutch. "Bad luck, old chap. He missed 2 of the best runs of the season, but, oh, bad luck, they say. He'll never be able to hunt again." "You will never be able to hunt, old boy. Shame, this is dashed shame." "He might as well be dead." "You might as well be dead. Can't hunt. It's such a shame. Poor bugger. Poor old Tim." "I thought it was Friday, not Saturday." "What? It is Friday." "Hello, lovely Julia. We missed you. Just been doing a whole thing." That was the end of chapter 2, by the way. They were doing a whole thing on Bewdley. And I nearly rang you because I know that I was just telling everybody how Lord Montague took you for a spin in his classic car. So I was slightly getting worried and thought maybe that little Joseph had bashed you over the head with a sledgehammer and you'd gone out cold. But it's good to see you there. Yes. So I'm confused. I'm going camping. Won't be around tomorrow to say it. Oh, that's why he said it. So happy July the 4th. Yes, Independence Day. Well, it's Independence Day for us because we can go to the pub. We can go to the pub as long as you booked in and you're actually going to eat. But hey-ho. We're on chapter 3. How are we doing? Should we do a bit more or would you like me to stop?
Stop. Don't do no more. Can't bear it when you do it.
I'm so frazzled. That's what I mean. I thought it was Saturday. Oh, you thought it was Saturday. Well, you know. Let's have a look at this now. It's better form, Richard. Yes, well read. Thank you very much. Rip Snorter. Form being the word, of course, because it's all about horses. Ed Loud says, I've already been to the pub, but you have to take your drink out with you and you sit in the park or something. Read more, says lovely Julia. All right, we'll read a bit more. Why not? By the way, lovely Julia, hopefully, assuming she doesn't continue to think it's Saturday, will be in the Vogue show tonight on Friday, the 3rd of July. Which I think is my wife. She's no longer my wife. I'm divorced for like 15 years. It's funny how these things stick in your mind, isn't it? I think it's her birthday today. Anyway, So if you're watching, Dawn, happy birthday. I don't suppose you are, but anyway. Chapter 3 tells how I was waylaid at Christchurch, how the sun rose at Stonehenge, how George III's bath lies in a Weymouth garden, and how I climbed up into the cradle of London. I meet an American at Exeter, sit on Plymouth Hoe, and watch the making of a battleship at Davenport. Sounds thrilling. Aye, aye, Captain, says the lovely Julia. Bournemouth puzzles me. I've looked at the smooth sunny sea and I've been worried. I've admired the gardens in the same frame of mind, also the pier with the usual fringe of strong men smoking pipes near lines which once every 3 hours become attached to an infantile place the size of a postcard. Confound it, what is it about Bournemouth that eludes me? I've looked at the up-to-date shops, the neat arcades, the retired colonels in their retired gardens, the massed bands of the Brigade of Tulips, for Bournemouth is ruled by gardeners, the girls who walk up the cliffs and down the cliffs, and the old people who sit in bath chairs drawn by ponies. And what on earth is nagging at me? Something I cannot quite grasp. And while he's grasping with that, just the thought of old people in bath chairs being pulled by ponies. Good gracious, we are going back in time. Well, of course we are. This is 1920s. How amazing. Anyway, can't grasp. I have motored up the hills to Boscombe and to Branksome, and I have seen the astonishing growth of Bournemouth, which involves the murder of the pines. One by one, the scented highwoods are marked down as desirable building plots, so that if Bournemouth does not wish to relinquish one of her proudest boasts, she will soon have to make it a penal offence to kill a pine tree. But what is this vague mental toothache of mine? What is this vague mental toothache? Oh, I cannot think. I was sitting on a seat watching a small boy sail a boat on the modest little Bourne, which tinkles through the pleasure gardens. He wore a grey shirt and a short grey trousers and a floppy grey hat, and he held a stick. He was dying to take off his shoes and become beautifully wet, but a nurse sat within disciplinary distance, hemming a pillow slip. Whenever I see a boy sail a boat, I long to join in. Now, this is written 100 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, and I imagine in this day and age you wouldn't be able to write this. Just so you know, this is 100 years ago when you were free to write this and no one was going to come down on you with a name. However, I will persevere and we will see where we go. Whenever I see a small boy sail a boat, I long to join in. I can never see him without wondering whether boys still have the heavenly time with boats that I have had. As I watched him, I remembered how once I built a small island in the middle of a rain water tank on top of the stables, and there I marooned, with every modern comfort, 2 delightful mice, saved from the murderous hands of the gardener. Each morning, a grey clockwork gunboat would leave for the island bearing cheese and bread. The mice would come to the water's edge and tuck in. By splashing the water, it was often possible to dislodge the gunboat from the land and send the exiles for a short-circuit tour round the tank and back home again. There were lush forests of grass on this sugar-box island and marvellous caves of mud, through whose fastness I had hung over the tank with torn trousers. I followed them in a million great adventures. How I longed to shrink myself to the size of a tin soldier and go out with the food ship to Mouse Island, there to swap yarns with the 2 explorers and wander with them in the green jungles. I tried to colonise a frog, to be I tried to colonise a frog to be a kind of faithful hound, but the frog had more ambitious ideas and must have leapt the galvanised boundary into the wider world. If a little grey boy with a boat, I thought, prods it in my direction, I will push it back and make friends, and no doubt he would like me to show him how to build a harbour of stones. Want to come back to my place and see my etchings, son? What? Who said that? Oh, I've got some lovely etchings. Come back and see them, son. You can bring your boat with you. That did it. I recalled this Bournemouth memory. 24 years ago, a nurse said to a horrid, scrubby little boy in this town, "Now, for goodness sake, Master Henry, don't put any more candles on it or it will sink." And I remember this boy sticking thin, twisted green and red Christmas tree candles all over a big grey destroyer on which was to take part in the children's illuminated regatta on this very stream. I walked down with a big grey ship beneath my arm, and I recall the still hot August night in the gardens, with not a breath moving the dark trees, the red glow from the Chinese lanterns and the fairy lamps over the flushed faces of other children as they leaned above the spangled waters of their twinkling craft. They gave me a prize for this grey ship, for I made a harbour of stones for it, and an Eddystone light on the tallest part, and there it lay at anchor, a proud, lovely thing. It was the first prize I pulled out of life, and I've forgotten what it was, but I remember the pride of it and the dreadful thing I did in the stillness of that night, when, stretching my hands from bed, I felt the grey ship on the chair beside me, and getting up, took the night-light and lit the last candle, sitting up in ecstasy to watch it splash in green grease and gutter on the deck. I felt a sudden tenderness for Bournemouth, for all the old people in bath chairs, for the discreet gardens and the shaven lawns and the tulips and the town clerk, the mayor and the corporation, even for old colonels with their enlarged livers in enlarged checked suits, and for all the bored married people of whom hotels are full. Then, just as the grey little boy in the floppy hat was near me, and I thought how good it would be to put my arms around this thin, scraggy little boy. Pedo! I'm sorry, did somebody say something? Just as I was preparing myself rather timidly to meet myself in him over 24 long years with a hearty, "That's a jolly fine boat of yours," the nurse, vile woman, locked her needle in the pillow slip, removed her spectacles and said, "Come along, Master John. It's time for lunch. Leave this pathetic-looking human alone," and rose. He went away striding conversationally beside her, a grey ship under his arm. So in the pleasure gardens of Bournemouth, where nothing out of the ordinary, it seems, could ever happen, a man met with a little grey ghost, small enough to stand beneath his arm, but big enough to fill his heart. And the two local police came round and took the bloke away for questioning. "All right, son, you better come along with me. We saw the way you were looking at that little boy. I don't think that's a very good thing to do. Besides which, we read on Twitter that you're a bit of a..." Anyway, better not go down there. 1984 gets closer every day, says Trevor's Time-Tannuals. Time-Tannuals? I don't know what that is. You can have free speech if it's the right kind of free speech. Yes, of course. Apparently, Bournemouth has bifocal shop windows. Well, I could do with that myself. Dan Ludlow says, "If you could say it 100 years ago, you can say it now, just in case of forming words in your mouth as you breathe past your voice box. Is there anyone who can speak breathing in?" "Yes, I can, but not very well." I have breath in. It's a bit painful to do it that way, actually. It goes right down to there, and I think the ghost of the boy is himself. Yes, I did get that, Lee. I was just being a little pedantic. Not pedantic. I was being a little flippant with the story. I know. I was just putting a Twitter. What do they call them? The Twitterati, don't they? The blue tick brigade. The righteous people who are ready to call you racist, who are ready to call him a pedo, is what I think. I was just, you know, it was a bit of what's the word? I can't think of the word. It doesn't really matter. It's begins with L. Not laity. Levity. Oh, I can't think. I spent many days and nights in Plymouth Hoe as a student, says Ben Reeve. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, Lee. Don't be sorry. It's very easy to misunderstand me. I am always I'm just misunderstood. Right, I don't think we'll start the next bit because it just goes on a bit. But that was fun. In Search of England there. Lovely that was, wasn't it? Very nice. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The Vogue show tonight at 8 o'clock as the normal time. I don't know why I had to think about that, but I did. Brain's a bit dead. And tomorrow, yes, I am with lovely Lee Dallin in a farm near Petworth. Rather jolly. Very nice man. Very open about his farm. It's all good. It's great fun. Lovely to see the farm, and it makes flippancy isn't allowed. Now, by the League of Perpetually Offended. I am part of the League of Perpetually Offended. Anything you say or do or even look like offends me. The fact that you are breathing is upsetting me and making me feel that you ought to be cancelled. Cancel that man for breathing. Apparently, I hear that the Chop, you know, what is it called? The Chop in America, that place that there's supposed to be a paradise in the spring. I heard on the news or on a thing that they've now taken it down and the police now rule because too many murders were going on in the Paradise of Fun or whatever it was called, the Chop or the Chaz or whatever that American thing in Seattle, I think it was, wasn't it? Anyway, you can't make the subject tonight. You can make the subject tonight free speech. Well, we better not get political. People get a bit upset. Does his farm have cows? He does. He has beef cows on his farm. I didn't go near the beef cows. We were very much looking at the what does a farmer do for nature on a farm. That was really the theme of that. Always were lots of perpetually offended, usually from Tunbridge Wells. Oh yes, can you imagine? The chop has been given the chop, thank God. Yes, that's true. Yes, the Tunbridge Wells. How did Tunbridge Wells, very upset from Tunbridge Wells? How did they get? Just one of those comedy moments. I remember the Winter Garden, says Mark Donny MacLeod, and the walkway down to the beach. Fortes was nice for a coffee, but don't try the fish. It's off. Oh, don't try the fish, what? It's off. I say, don't try the fish, what? It's off. It's jolly off. Yes, I think it's yesterday's catch, don't you, Algernon?
Yes, I suppose. Yeah, it could be.
Oh, the good old days when you could just take the mickey out of people. Angry of Mayfair retired. Oh, Angry of Mayfair, retired down to Royal Tunbridge Wells. Well, we're upset by anything and everything. Oh, we don't like it. They don't like it up 'em, Captain. They don't like it up 'em, Mr. Manring. They don't like it up 'em. Thank you, Jones. If I may make a suggestion. What is it now, Wilson? Well, it's awfully good of you, Captain. It's awfully good of you. I was just wondering, shouldn't we take the boys outside? It'd be so much hotter in here. Yes, and if I could just go to the loo. All right, Godfrey. Better go off. Thank you, Captain Manring. Thank you awfully, Captain Manring. Oh, they were the days. Anti-Happiness Committee. Off, not off. Yes, off. I'm off. What's the theme tonight? What would you like the theme tonight? Could be anything you like. Enjoyed that reading. Thank you very much, Turbo Stream. Audrey says, bye for now. Bye-bye. You can make the subject... Oh, yes, done that. Always a lot of people... Flippancy isn't loud. Read all that. Man of the world, Ben. What have I just quickly... Have I missed any more up here? It's all... These are the best bits of it, isn't it, really? If you could say 100 years ago... You can say... Oh, yes, I read that. 1984. Wait a minute. All quite innocent, I'm sure. Those days, people didn't look for things that aren't necessarily there. What society do we live in? They see things everywhere they went now, don't they? Oh, yes, I see it all. I see it clearly now. I know exactly what was in there. It's all innuendo, isn't it? It's all innuendo. You're just taking the mickey out of me. I can't stand it. I've rumbled you now. Mental toothache. Yes, there we go. Don't apologise to the PC Brigade. Oh, sorry, I won't apologise. Apparently, Bournemouth... Oh, yes, done all. Right, brilliant. Sad of Slough, it's now getting wordage on the old FB. I see. Ed Loud says, I can't help feel that you don't have the message set to live chat. Yes, it's on live chat to get them in the right order. Yes, I don't know. It's on live chat. It's definitely on live chat, old boy. Look. Here we go. That's how it comes across to me. Don't know if you can read. It says live chat. Very, very live. Very live. Anyway, enough of this gay banter. John Le Measurer wanted it on his gravestone. It's all been rather lovely. Yes, I did hear that, actually. I mean, he was just like... John Le Measurer was brilliant because he was just a one-off, wasn't he? He was just that one-off. You could never have another one. It would be. I said it's awfully. You don't awfully mind if I wonder if we could. It was just so polite and so vague. Friday greetings. Hello, Ross Corbett. Nice to hear from you, Ross. Been a long old time. How you doing? Yes, John Le Measurer was just. I loved some of those films because he just often had little bit parts in here. He really didn't want very much, did he? In life, it was just so nice to go out there with cigarettes, smoking away. Oh yes, and Hattie Jakes with him. It was a sad relationship, really, wasn't it? Anyway, that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 5 o'clock. At the first stroke, it will be 5. All day. Leo McKern was brilliant too. Yes, Leo McKern. Didn't he play Rumpole? I'm off for my tea. Was it Leo McKern who played Rumpole? There's lots there. So many who could go down Maybe we'll go down memory lane tonight. Memory lane. Lovely Julia will like that. Of all the stars, the stars that did one-off roles. Not one-off roles, but the what would you call them? The supporting cast. David Lodge. People like that, who they're the faces that you recognise from the old films, but you can't bring the name to them. Theme for tonight: favourite Brit TV shows. Yes, well, I don't have a television anymore. I couldn't tell you what's on now. Rumpole was written by my friend Rosie's dad. Oh, John Mortimer. Yes. Oh, Rumpole. Yes, Hattie Jakes was born in Sandgate. So was my dad. I was born in a sand pit. But we don't like to talk about that, really. The shirt behind the window. I was in Cockleshell Heroes, says Dan. Were you in Cockleshell Heroes? Who was in that then? Was that a film? Rosie ended up a supermodel at Select Models and married the guitarist from Groove Armada. So there you go. I don't know any of that. Groove Armada. Music, you see. Julia will be good at music. She knows all the music stuff. I don't know any of those. Anyway, must go. Thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you. And we will. Oh, David Lodge was Dan in was in Cockleshell Heroes. Oh, right. Oh, okay. David Lodge was great. He was great in some of the comedies, Ealing comedies and Norman Wisdom comedies and things like that. It's just a great just a great straight actor. Some of these actors are just absolutely perfect for what they did. Anyway, referring to what you once called the role. Oh, referring to what you once called. Oh yes. Oh, the man in the white shirt. The shirt. Yes, I was white shirt behind frosted glass at the end of the corridor. That's how I always describe it. White shirt behind frosted glass at the end of the corridor. That was me in the bill. Oh, people used to write in for my autograph. Can I the man who was the white shirt behind frosted glass down the end of the corridor. Brilliant bit of flash behind the curtain of the corridor. Brilliant flash acting. I was a flash actor, I was. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. I've got life to live for a few minutes and then another show to give. Take care, look after yourself, and see you later on. Tutty bye.